Hi, I'm Paul Lebeau from the Mockmill team. Congratulations on your new Mockmill. I'm proud to be able to present it to you here. We want you to be able to get started right away and be making really beautiful flour and other grain products right away. What I'll tell you today about the Mockmill 100 will also apply to its big brother, the Mockmill 200, because in terms of operation, they're exactly the same. The first thing they have in common is the beautiful new Mockmill arboform housing. This is made of plastic, of course, but it's a bioplastic made of 98% vegetal content. It's our contribution to a new, more ecological future. One of the big advantages of your Mockmill is that it's fully accessible. You can get right to it. And I'm going to take it apart now without any tools and just in a couple of seconds to show you just how accessible it is, and we'll take a look at how it works. To open it up, all I do is unscrew this little adjustment lever, and then you'll see on the back of the Mockmill there are two little tabs. I press them in a little bit and lift the hopper off. There we are. And here's the Mockmill with the cap of the milling chamber. And we'll go right to work and take the milling chamber off. Off comes the milling chamber lid. We'll talk about this in just a moment. You'll see we've placed two little segments in here to protect the Mockmill during transport for you. We'll take them out, put them aside. You'll probably never need them again. And there you have it. This way, I can lift off the top stone of the Mockmill. That's what we call the stator stone. Stator because it in fact doesn't move. It sits above the mill, the rotor stone, suspended on two springs right here. Now those springs come out very easily, so be careful. If they fall out at any time, you want to catch them, and you can place them easily right back in where they came from. Below the stator stone sits the rotor stone. It's connected to the motor, and in fact, if I switch the motor on now, keeping my fingers way far away, I can watch how the stone turns slowly. We think that's important for gentle milling. Well, how does the mill work? It's very simple. The grain falls in through this hole in the top of the stator stone, and it has to make its way between these two stones out through the spout here. And the bigger the gap between the two stones, the coarser the grind. And of course, the smaller the gap, the finer the grind. How is that gap regulated? Well, we did that when we took the milling chamber cap off. I'll put the stator right back in place. When we screw this cap down, we're actually closing the gap. And in fact, we can screw this so tight that we bring the two stones into contact with one another. If we turn the motor on now, nothing would happen, just a loud hum saying that the motor can't get started. If that happens, we better turn it off right away and back off a little bit. Then we can switch the motor on and hear the nice hum as it runs. And if we tighten that down just a little bit, we'll find very, very easily this point at which the two stones first touch. Hear that? That's your finest milling point. Now there's a reference point on the cap here that indicates for us that we're at that finest point. And it's lined up with about a 430 position, if you think of a clock face here. That's the finest point. And the coarsest point is when that black mark opening the cap is over around 8 o'clock. So all we have to do to go from very coarse over here to very, very, very fine over here is to tighten down that cap. Now that would be really easy if we didn't have the hopper here that makes it hard for us to reach that. But guess what? We've got that nice little handle that we took off. And here you'll see we have a little segment into which it screws which easily moves around in the cap. When I screw the segment in, the lever into the segment, however, and there I notice it still moves easily until I get it all the way screwed in. And once it's screwed in all the way, the lever becomes a very nice handle for opening and closing the cap of the milling chamber. And that's just great. And so I can move it from outside the mill. Except that I've only got this much throw in my slot on the side of the hopper. Well, if I want to move this black mark all the way over here to 8 o'clock, how am I going to do that? Aha! We've thought that out for you. You see, I can open the mill all the way to the 10 position here, then turn this about a half a turn to release it, and move it back to the 1 position. Tighten it up and push it back to the 10. Release it again, move it back to the 1, tighten it up, push it back to the 10. Release it again, move it back to the 1, tighten it up, push it back to the 10. And you see, my black mark has come all the way around. I've gone from very, very fine to very, very coarse, and I could have done that easily with the hopper on. So let's see how that works in real life, and we'll do a little live milling for you. I move back to 1, release it, and so forth. So let's start over here on the coarsest setting that I told you about before. I'm going to unscrew that lever so I can put the cap back on, the hopper back on. Screw it back in. Okay, and we'll try milling some grain at that coarsest grind. There we go. And the grains are hardly broken. Now I'm going to go to a finer setting here and try that again. Now I get some nicely broken grains. I'll do as I explained to you. We'll release this, move it back to 10 and move it back down to 1. See what we get now. Now we get a coarse grain, something like we might like for grits. And I'll release it once more, move it down here. Some nice coarse meal. And now I'm going to look for that fine point now. Listen for it. Whoops. There I hear it. Move that to 1. And here I get that nice, beautiful, fine flour that the Mockmill 100 has become famous for. So that's it. In just a few moments, with a couple of easy adjustments, I've gone from very, very coarse, broken grains all the way down to the finest home-milled flour that you can imagine, and that every professional baker is proud to bake with. And that's really it. That's how your Mockmill works. We hope that you'll have lots of fun getting right to work with it. You're a miller now. Bye.